Hello everyone, Assalamu alaikum. My name is Hijab Upworkwali and I am a student of Rahan School Karangi campus. I am studying in class 7. My class name is the Future Navigators. So today we have the very honorable and grateful guest whose name is Fyodor. So let's go and about himself and about him life journey. So hello sir, how are you?
Hello, doing well. How are you?
I am good. Okay, so first of all I want to thank you to come in my show and give me your valuable time.
Thank you.
Okay, so before moving on the question, please introduce yourself.
Sure. Yeah, I'm Fyodor Ovchinnikov. I'm based in Oakland, California, and I'm director and co-founder of Evolution Futures Lab. I've heard that you're doing a course with Future Navigators. I believe Bertola Bergstrand is one of the teachers, probably, right? Bertola, you know him? Yeah. So Bertola is a
Yes,
friend.
yes, I
Yeah.
know him.
That's wonderful. So we worked on some things here in the Bay Area together with Bertola over the last, I would say, maybe 8 years. So they before the pandemic they came often for SOCAP, Social Capital Markets Conference about social entrepreneurship, and we hosted them in Oakland, and we've been um, helping with some online participant gatherings as well on future navigation. So I'm very glad to be part of your interview. And also, Rihanna is a friend, Rihanna Lahwala, and he stayed right here in Oakland with us. Again, pre-pandemic, we haven't seen a lot of people since the pandemic, but before the pandemic, it's been it was very vibrant here. So that's a little bit about our connections.
Amazing. Okay, so my next question: how do you define honesty, and why is it important to you?
Sure. Yeah, that's a great question. I was trained as in intercultural communication. I studied China and Chinese culture and language at the university. And to me, it was a very profound experience of understanding different cultural values and different cultural patterns. So when I think about honesty, I think, of course, about honesty with oneself, within one's own culture, and within one's own understanding. So the courage to be straightforward with yourself about what's going on and what you think and what you have to do. But also, the honesty is about relationship, is a trust in the relationship with the other. And in this relationship, you need to also understand how the message is received, because you can be very honest in your own cultural environment, right? And the perception of the message will be very different. And if you are aware of that, you cannot just say that, "Hey, I was honest, and that is the best I could do," right? So I'm honest because that's how I see it, right? And the fact that you interpreted that differently, it's not my problem. So I think that this is ignorant, and this is actually something that undermines trust and undermines honesty, because as soon as we put more than one person in the picture, then we need to care about how the message is perceived. So we need to make sure that honesty is about trust in the context, and we need to care about how the message will be perceived by the other.
Amazing. Okay, so my next question: can you share an example of a situation where you demonstrated integrity in your personal or professional life?
Yeah. Um, okay. So I mean, there is one little story that comes to mind. I remember um, I was just starting an Evolution Futures Lab that was called Institute for Evolution Leadership at that point, and I was also teaching at Optima Entrepreneur Cooperative, where Evolution Futures Lab actually got started. That's a cooperative business accelerator here in Oakland, and um, I was committed to teach on a Saturday. And that was outside of my normal teaching and mentoring. That was a volunteer commitment that Optima graduates had to teach a few hours. And then I had a client request for the Revolution of Futures Lab that covered 3 days, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And that was a very important client request for Revolution of Futures Lab. But I already had commitment to teach, and there was no other person that I could invite to replace me for the Evolution of Futures Lab assignment, because it was very complex. And at the same time, I have this commitment to Optima. So I basically come to Optima founder, and I said, look, that day is coming where I need to teach, and I committed to teach. So, and I'm still happy to honor that commitment. And I wanted to know that there is this opportunity that that is a client work that comes in. And if I have to teach, then I miss 3 days of strategically important client engagement. So I wonder what can I do, if anything, to honor my commitment in a way that satisfies you, but at the same time allows me to work with a client. But at the same time, like, if there is no other way, I am willing to give up the client and teach for you. So, and then I offered to bring in a very experienced teacher, very well known in the field, and pay that teacher out of my pocket. So basically, I will pay that teacher for you, because it was supposed to be volunteer teaching. And I think in this case, that teacher would do an even better job than me. So, and then the founder of Optima basically said, don't worry, I will pay that teacher. And that's okay. And then basically I said, okay, so if you're willing to pay that to that teacher, I'm willing to pay that teacher what I plan to pay that teacher, because I know that the teacher deserves more. That was kind of the minimum that I could do. And that's what we did. So we invited that teacher. We paid double the rate, and everybody was happy at the end. And that contributed to the trust between me and the founder of Optima, because she knew I cared, and I was willing to follow through on my commitment, even if it meant that I should let go of the other opportunity. So she knew that she could rely on me if I make a commitment, that even if something else comes out of the field of opportunity, I will still honor my commitment the other way around. So I really appreciated that she was willing to actually support me in pursuing that opportunity by paying Optima's money for that replacement teacher. And it also strengthened relationship with that teacher, because we paid that teacher well. So I think everybody benefited from that situation, and that was a way, like, that was when I was following my my moral compass, and the result was good in terms of building trust and relationships.
Okay, thanks for answer. So my next question: what motivates you to maintain a high level of honesty and integrity in all your actions?
Yeah, first of all, it would be really an overstatement, right? Because life is a very complex endeavor, right? And honesty and integrity is also a very complex thing that is vulnerable to interpretations, right? So I would say that there are situations when there are there are complex situations where what is an ethical decision is not obvious, right? It's not clear, and you need to really sit with yourself or speak with friends you trust and try to figure out what is the best and the solution that is aligned with integrity and honesty, right? So I'm not saying that okay, this is very simple, like you always know what's right and you just do what's right? And you just for example, don't look look the other way to rewards that could potentially be there if you don't act according to that. Even the moral compass itself is something that is work in progress and iterative, right? But there are also certain moments of truth, right? So sometimes in life, there is a decision, and you know exactly what is right? And it could be not very obvious, right? Not very obvious for a lot of people. So I was talking about how people receive the message. So yes, there are certain situations in life where you actually have your moral compass, and you know that you will be misunderstood, right? Because also sometimes there are different people with different interpretations, and whatever you do now, there is no way how you can actually deliver that message to people with different assumptions, right? And then you have to act, in a way that's really is aligned with how you see things. So for that, my favorite quote is from Cicero, that was also quoted by Michel Montaigne. That's how I learned about the quote. It's called "Ipsius honestatis decore" in Latin, which is for the beauty of the honesty itself. Yeah. So for the beauty of the honesty itself. So what's the reason for that? And because it's the right thing to do. So there is certain moral beauty in following through and doing something, even if it requires sacrifice, even if nobody understands it. So as long as it is possible, it is very important for me to be in right relationship with the other, to empathize with the other, and to care about impact, not just intent. So how my message is going to be perceived, and that is primarily in communication. So when I say something to the other person, right? So when I do things, sometimes it is it is impossible to do something that people would understand exactly the way I understand it. And in this case, following through on the moral, on what's right, is a reward in itself. There is no other reward, and in fact, it's sometimes very painful, right, to receive the reaction. But at the same time, the clarity, the moral clarity, gives that motivation to follow through and do the right thing.
Okay, thanks for answer. So my next question: describe a time when you had to make a difficult ethical decision. How did you handle it?
Difficult ethical decision. So that little story kind of describes one potential thing. I mean, it's a little story though. It's not super big deal. So let me think about difficult ethical decision. It's interesting because difficult ethical decisions very often are done in context that is confidential, right? So you cannot really tell the story to a lot of people because this is connected to other people, and it's confidential how you behave in that, and you give the privacy and confidentiality of that. So let me see if I can come up with something that is that I'm open to share. Difficult ethical decision. You know what? It's interesting. So every time I think about it,
My next question.
no. Let me wrestle with it for a little bit, if that's okay. So
Yes.
every time I think about this, yeah, it's either the reward for the morality of the decision, or it's actually not a difficult decision. Like, it's not a difficult decision, right? Even if the consequences are, like, for example, in that story, if I lost the client, that wouldn't have been, well, I could say that it could be a difficult decision. Yeah, I would have. Yeah, would have been, you know, thinking about that client that I lost as something that was difficult. I would say that. Okay, so let me tell you this. Yeah, let me tell you this. Okay, I'm Russian. Yeah, so I was born in Russia. And in last year, my country, where I was born, invaded Ukraine. Okay. And my identity is attached to Russia. Yeah, so I grew up in Russia. I am Russian, and um, I was born with that attachment to my country. And I also know that it is very unjust what the country is doing. And because I'm Russian and I know a little bit about Russian politics and Putin, I reject the the um, the invasion and the regime that I consider illegitimate. But at the same time, I am attached to Russian identity. So, in my choice to support Ukraine against the country that I grew up in, was very, again, I wouldn't say it was difficult. That was the right thing to do. That was the only thing I could have done. But it was very painful. So I think that's where I have the problem with the difficult ethical decision. For me, it was not difficult. It was painful. It had its price, right? So but it was not difficult. I haven't been wrestling with that decision. I immediately did that because I had enough context. And in some cases, it's you don't know what it is, and kind of you wrestle with it. But again, as soon as you know, it's not difficult, right? So difficult could be interpreted as painful. Then I guess that's the good example. Difficult could be when you don't really know. Okay, another example when difficult is not really knowing is Palestine-Israeli conflict, because I'm not Palestinian. I have never been connected to Israel. I guess I had a great grandfather that was Jewish, but I never knew him, and that was not part of my identity. So I was not really very much aware about that. And now I have a lot of friends who are connected to the region, in the Arab world and in the Jewish world. And I'm trying to figure out, what narratives are true and what are not, and how these things, come together. And I'm trying to have empathy for everybody. So it's difficult to get moral clarity here, right? As soon as this clarity is there for some parts of it, it's not difficult, right? So that's I hope. And sorry for this taking me so long, but I think I'm happy with my answer now, right? So again, the difficulty, I would split it into two. Difficulty as the pain that comes with the decision, the price that comes with the decision, even though you know what to do, but it brings you a lot of pain, yeah, or suffering or disadvantage. And another thing is that when there is no clarity, and it's difficult to actually figure out what's the right thing to do. So I would say, yeah, I would say these two examples can showcase that.
Okay, next answer. So my next question: how do you handle situation where you need to give constructive feedback while maintaining a respectful and honest approach?
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, it depends on relationship, right? And second of all, if it depends on again culture, and culture, both culture in which the person grew up with, and also you know uh, in terms of the country and or like the community, and then it's other experiences like family and work, etc. Right? So then how the person shows up. So looking at that, with some people I can be very direct, right? With some people I think it would be a disservice to be super direct, right? And also I try to look at the big picture. So whether this constructive feedback would actually be helpful, because it could be that the constructive feedback is actually about a minor issue, but giving it directly would undermine confidence in a person who is new to the job, for example. Right, and in this case, it would be better to guide the person to see the mistake on their own and correct it, rather than just be very direct and saying, "Hey, you're wrong." Yeah. So at the same time, when there is high level of trust, when the person feels secure, I could be much more direct, and I actually prefer to be direct, and I prefer other people to be direct with me. But at the same time, showing care. So it's not that, okay, it's you're wrong and it's bad and I judge you for that. It's more like we are in this together, and here is this thing in front of us, and let's confront it together, right? And here is how we can do that. But again, I would say that the way I give feedback is very different based on who I'm giving it to, what the relationship we have, what kind of relationship we have, and what the person's background and reactions are.
Okay, it has answers to my next question. And values of the organization you work for.
Yeah. Well, that is very simple in the Evolution Futures Lab, right? So because that I essentially am the founder and director of that organization, and the biggest thing I need to do in Evolution Futures Lab is actually trust my friends and collaborators to give me feedback on whether what I do appears to be aligned with the values that I declare. Right, because it could be that I have blind spots, right? We all have blind spots, and somebody comes to me and says, "Hey, Fyodor, what you did doesn't really sound right, or look right." That would be great feedback for us to discuss. So that's the thing. This when you are actually a leader of an organization, and it's very easy to live with your blind spots and not listen to different feedback, because like I have most of the context, and I have more context of you. I see the big picture, and you just see your tiny little piece. So don't tell me what I need to do, right? So I'm trying to overcome that, right, and actually listen to feedback. And then up to my entrepreneurial cooperative, where I still teach. So where I'm working in a larger team, and I am looking at how relationships work, how people are treated, and I also look at the relationship with people with whom I have questions, right? So, for example, if there is something that I don't like, or I think that it might not be aligned with values, so I also see if I trust people enough, I share my opinion. I say that, look, here is what I think. And then I basically trust an honest conversation, or I trust, people whom I know for years to do whatever they feel right. Unless there is something that is very serious, right? So if it's something that I don't understand, then I would rather trust the person. If there is something that I not only not understand, but I think that I do understand, but it's wrong, then it would be a different thing. I could resign, for example. But fortunately, it has never crossed this line.
Okay, sir, thank you so much for giving us many knowledge and give me your valuable time.
Thank you.
Okay, so viewers, I am Hijab Upworkwali and my guests are Fyodor. So I hope that you submit our interview and so get the many knowledge. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, and I'm very
Allah
much looking
Hafiz.
forward to your
Bye
review. I
bye.
know that you have to do reviews of videos, so I'm looking forward to hearing your reflections and maybe even your examples. So thank you for inviting me.
Okay, sir. I invite you. I invite you my school. My school Rehan School Karangi. And when you
Thank you. Yeah, but I even looked up tickets to Pakistan and
visit
what
my
it
school
takes to
and meet me and
get a visa. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.